This rather sad looking little fellow is the latest addition to the Retro Steamtech airgun collection. Now, this is a Diana Mark IV air pistol. These were made from 1950 up until I think about 1977. And as you can see, this one is in pretty poor shape. It looks like it's been buried in the ground for about 10 years. Very lucky to get this. Again, this was a donation to my channel by the same chap who donated my previous air rifles. Ashley, great guy, good friend, and I'm very grateful to him for this. It needs a lot of work. It's very definitely a project gun, as you can see, and I'm going to have to strip it down and see whether or not I can get it working. Now, it's only really missing, as far as I can tell, the rear sight and one of the screws that holds the trigger guard on. Everything else is there. I'm fairly certain everything else is there. The spring's in there. It won't cock properly. You can feel the pressure of the spring when you go through the cocking procedure, but the sear doesn't engage. So obviously it's going to need to be stripped down, taken apart, and had a good look at. Now, the Mark IV has a rather unusual cocking system. It is a top lever or over lever. So what you do is, to cock the gun, as I said, there's one of the screws is missing from the trigger guard. What you do to cock the gun is you unclip this from the back of the air tube here, and you lever it up like that, and that allows you to cock. Now it should cock the gun. Now it should engage the sear at that point, but it's not doing it. It also allows you to get to the barrel, which you can see there, and put your pellet in. And you can also see that the breech seal is missing, which should be breech seal. Whoops, the breech seal should be in here. So yeah, lots to do. I do like these because I do like the wooden furniture. You know, the grip and this lower part here of the receiver is all wood, which is really, really nice. There is a crack underneath it here, so that's going to have to be attended to. But I think these are reasonably simple pistols, so yeah. Let's have a go at getting it apart. Yeah, sadly there are no disassembly videos online for this, so I'm kind of flying blind with this one. But as I said before, I don't think this is a particularly... that screw's obviously gone. I don't think it's a particularly complicated pistol at all. There seem to be two screws that hold it together. There's one, or at least hold the main metal part to the wooden part. So it should be fairly straightforward. There we go. Yeah, so you can see quite clearly the crack in the wood there, but we can fix that, and this should clean up all right. So that leaves us with this bit. So yeah, so this all appears to be riveted together here, or are they pins? Oh, they might be pins. They might be pins. So we might be able to get that apart. Not quite sure how this end cap is fitted, is connected, but we'll have a go. But we can certainly take all this apart. This should all come apart, I would have thought, fairly easily. Let's take this one off first. Bigger screwdriver. Double nut on it. Come on. There's always one that's difficult. Right, so that's that one out. One washer, two washers, good. Okay, so that's that free. This should hopefully undo. Okay, so that's going to require 2 screwdrivers. Let's see if I can get that going. Well, that was a bit of a fight. I had to use some plus gas on that and put this side of it in the vise, but we got it there. So basically, it's a little threaded tube, so, and very rusty. So hopefully that should allow us to take that off. So that's obviously the cocking arm. Very, very rusty. And barrel should now come out. Wow, that's interesting. The barrel is actually rifled. I know some of these were smoothbore, some were rifled, but this one is rifled. Excellent. So that leaves us with this piece, which is the remainder, shall we say. And I think we're going to have to do some tapping now to get various pins out of here. Yeah, before we can go any further. Well, that was a bit of a fight. I do apologise for not filming it, but there was a certain amount of hammer type gunsmithing involved with this, and it was a little bit of a fight, but I'll explain why in a minute. But it's all apart. All of the various parts are out. The pins came out quite easily. That wasn't difficult. Disassembling this part wasn't difficult. The problem was getting the spring out, and I'll close in on that and explain why. So here's the cylinder. This is basically the cylinder here. This is the piston. That's the seal on the end there. And this is your spring and the spring guide. Now, what made this so difficult to get apart was the way this end cap, which holds the spring under compression in the cylinder, the way that is fixed in place. And hopefully this will explain it. As you can see, this end cap, which is attached to the spring guide, which is that, basically pull it partly off, which is that metal rod that goes through the end of the spring. There is a groove here, and there is a mating groove. I don't know whether you can see that. You should just about be able to see it there in the air tube. And this is the remains of the circlip that holds it all together. Now, the idea is that the ends of the circlip protrude through this little T-shaped slot in the end of the air tube. Unfortunately, they had rusted and broken off over time, so there was absolutely no way that you could possibly get the circlip out. The idea is that the circlip is squeezed into this groove, and then you squeeze the whole lot into the tube with the spring under pressure, and then release it, and that engages with that groove and locks the whole lot in place, which is fine if you've got ends to the circlip. But if you haven't got ends to the circlip, not quite as easy. So unfortunately, I've had to butcher the end of the air tube. I just basically got a small screwdriver and tapped it all the way around, so swaged the end of that out, and then eventually obviously it popped out. So that can all be fixed. That's not a problem. I can gently tap that all back into place. The problem is I don't like this method of using a circlip. It's not very good at all. So what I might do is drill and tap the end of this plug to take some, say, 6BA screws, and then drill and tap the sides for to take the screws, then put screws through and screw them into that. That's a much stronger way of holding it in place. So yeah, got it apart eventually. So lots of work to do. Got to get everything de-rusted and cleaned up. Probably put a new seal on the end of the piston, but it should clean up okay. It's mainly just rust, and I'm sure that'll all come off. And obviously we've got to do some serious work on the wooden stock. Glue the cracked part back together first, and then the rest of it. But no, I think that I think we can back to looking pretty nice and operational with a bit of luck. The barrel, piston, spring and spring guide and end cap have all been soaking in vinegar overnight, and I think you can see that there's a whole load of crap that's already come off of them. Now I'm going to give them a brush over with a soft brass wire brush, and hopefully a huge amount of that will come off, and then we'll have a look at them again after I've done that. I'll do that off camera and see if they need any more soaking or whether we can take them out of the vinegar. The vinegar, as usual, has done a superb job. This spring guide and end cap was really rusty. It's cleaned that all off. It's done a good job on the barrel. A lot of the metal parts on it's going to paint it. They were painted black, and it's taken, not only is it taken the rust off, but it's also taken most of the paint off, which is great. I will probably blue it rather than paint it. This is the piston, which was awful both inside and out, and it's got rid of it. It's got rid of all of the rust. Same with the spring. The spring was horrifically rusty. Not sure yet whether I'm going to attempt to get a new spring. That one seems quite strong, so I may well just go with the original. But yeah, that's all cleaned up superbly, and now we can move on to cleaning up the rest of it. A few minutes on the brass wire wheel and it's all looking a hell of a lot better. Those two parts I'm going to blue. This will just be, the piston will just be oiled up, as will the spring. But yes, it's looking a hell of a lot better. The barrel particularly has come up very nicely. So yes, we'll get that wiped down with acetone, and then we'll blue that. And the same with the end cap and spring guide. So yeah, coming along. It's coming along. A considerable amount of time was spent on the wire wheel sorting these two parts out, but they've come up very nicely indeed. I'm quite pleased with that. I will blue them. I've already done the barrel, and that's come out very nicely. It's soaking in oil at the moment, so I can't show it to you, but I will show it to you later. But yeah, these two have turned out really nicely. However, it has brought to light another slight problem, which I will show you. The end of the air tube, which is where obviously the spring goes in there in front of the piston, and then that end cap goes in there, which is held in place by the circlip. Now the end cap is about 19mm in diameter, so I've got a bit of 90mm steel bar and reshaped the end to get it back to round again. However, there is a slight problem. When I was levering it apart to get the thing disassembled, it's snapped this very tiny, it's broken this very tiny piece of metal here, which goes from this part of the tube to the guide part here. There's a very small break there. Now yes, could I braze it up? I probably could. However, you know, that's almost right on the line for the circlip, so that's definitely going to be weaker now than it was, and you know, less likely to hold under the spring pressure, which again brings me to the conclusion I'm going to have to come up with an alternative. I'm thinking now about drilling all the way through and putting a pin in. That would be possibly the best option. I could put a sleeve around this from a piece of 19mm steel tube, thin walled tube, and that would help with the strength of it. But then again, it would make this end thicker and it wouldn't fit in the wooden stock. So yeah, I haven't decided completely yet what I'm going to do, but obviously something is going to have to be modified there. Several days later, and most of the metal parts are finished. The bluing has come out really well. I'm well pleased with that. As the barrel, you can tell there that that's looking really nice. This is the top lever, obviously, and you can now, I don't know whether you can make that out, but you can now see the Diana Goddess on there, and the wording which says Diana Mark IV, made in Great Britain, which you couldn't see before. But this thing has turned out really well. I'm well pleased with all the metalwork. Really has turned out well. I'm well pleased with that. So next thing to do is move on to the wooden stock, which It's going to need quite a lot of sanding, because I've been having a look at it, and what I think has happened with that stock is I think someone removed the original finish and then left it bare wood, and over the years it has acquired grime and grease and oil, and it's soaked into the wood really badly. So it's going to need some serious sanding to get it back to normal. But yeah, I think we can do it. So yeah, just the woodwork to do, and then we can start putting it back together.